I've always wondered, do you actually have to trim your beef ribs? Well, in this video, we're going to find out. Before we get into the beef ribs, we need to set our smoker up. We're going to be using our drum, so we'll open it up and take our cooking grate off. Then we'll take our heat deflector out, and then we'll fill our charcoal basket up. Then we'll bury a fire lighter in there and light it up. Right, so we've got about 10 minutes before those briquettes will be ready, so we'll use that time to prepare our beef ribs. All right, so we picked up these beautiful beef ribs from Austral Meat. I mean, just look at those. They are magnificent. This rack is the slightly thicker one, so that's the one we'll trim down. These are both straight out the packet, so we are not even going to touch this one here. So we'll put that aside. We'll flip this one over, and I'm just going to start by taking this bottom membrane off. Not going to need my knife for this one. We just want to get straight underneath there and peel it straight off. Just like so. And that's what we need to do to the bottom side. And now we're just going to take this silver skin off the top. Now, as you'll see, when I'm trimming beef ribs, I like to get underneath that silver skin, and then I'll run my knife underneath it, slightly angled upwards so you're not cutting down into the meat. And you always want to try and cut away from yourself just so you reduce that risk of slipping and injuring yourself. Alright, now that's honestly one of the best racks of beef ribs I've seen in a long time. Beautiful marbling, nice, thick and uniform. So we've got our trimmed up beef rib, and then we've got our untrimmed one. Still got the membrane on the bottom, still got that silver skin and a little bit of fat on top. Now it's time to season them up. Alright, now we want to try and keep everything exactly the same for this cook, so I'm just going to coat both of them in a little bit of yellow mustard to help our rub stick to the meat. And then we'll give them both a base coat in my steak shooter rub. Make sure we get those edges. And then we'll top them off with some of my beef bounce. Alright, now our beef ribs are trimmed and seasoned. Let's check on these briquettes. Alright, so our briquettes have caught light nicely. So we'll shut our lid and open both our vents up. Then we'll give our barbecue around 10 minutes to come up to our target temperature, which for this cook is going to be around the 275 Fahrenheit or 135 Celsius range. Alright, so we are pretty much at temperature, so we'll open our smoker back up. I'm going to be using some cherry chunks, so I'll get one straight on where the fire's burning, and then one a little bit off to the side. Then I'll get this heat deflector back in, and the cooking grate, and these beautiful beef ribs. Now I'm going to put the untrimmed one at the front and the trimmed one at the back, and then we'll close the lid and let these start smoking away. Alright, so there's a few things I'm interested in seeing the difference between in the two racks of beef ribs we have. Is that silver skin on the rack we didn't trim going to be chewy? Are the ones we trimmed up going to have a better bite to them? Are the ones we didn't trim going to be slightly juicier because we left that bottom membrane on, which might help hold all the juices in? Is there going to be a big texture difference between the two? And not that it really matters, is there going to be a difference in smoke ring because we left the membrane on one of the racks? We'll break all of that down later on, but for now we're just going to let these beef ribs smoke away. I don't really have to do much for the first couple of hours of this cook. I just need to maintain a nice steady temperature. If I need to increase, I'm just going to open up our intake vent a little bit. If I need to decrease temperature, then I'll start shutting it down a little bit. And then we'll start spritzing our beef ribs a little bit later. So we'll let these smoke away for now, and we'll check back in once we're a bit further into the cook. All right, these beef ribs have been going for almost 2 hours now. They are starting to look really good. Getting some nice drawback on the bones already. They're looking a touch dry on top, so I'll just give them a quick spritz. I'm just spritzing with some water, but you can use some beef stock or apple cider vinegar. I personally don't think it matters too much. So now we'll shut this lid and let these keep cooking away. Alright, so we are 4 hours into this cook now. These just continue to look better and better. One thing I'm noticing straight away is the rack that we didn't trim is starting to get a bit of a better bark. There's a lot more moisture on the rack that we did trim. I'm assuming the moisture can't really break through that silver skin on the top, because I am seeing a bit of moisture back here where there wasn't any silver skin. So I'm just going to give them another quick spritz. And because our lid vent is at the back of the smoker and I want these two to cook as evenly as possible, I'm just going to rotate this cooking grate around so these two racks of ribs swap positions. And now I'll shut the lid and let these keep going. Alright, we're about 7.5 hours in now, and I reckon these ribs are ready. So our untrimmed rack is probing beautifully. That's at about the 205 Fahrenheit or 96 degrees Celsius internal. And our trimmed rack is probing really nice as well. And that's pretty much at the same stage. So what I'm going to do is get these ribs out, get them in a tray, and we're going to let them rest. All right, now I just want to take a moment because these look absolutely incredible. All I'm going to do right now is let them rest at room temperature away from these flies inside for about half an hour to 45 minutes, and then we'll come back to slice these up and compare them. All right, so this is our untrimmed one. We'll go ahead and slice it open. That looks pretty bloody good. Looks tender, juicy, great bark, good smoke ring. Let's have a look at this other one. All right, and this one looks very, very nice as well. Potentially a little bit softer. We'll have a look at them both together. Honestly, they both look really, really good. A very, very similar, if not the exact same smoke ring. I think it's time to cut a little bit off each and have a taste. Cut the first slice off each one we looked at. All right, so this trimmed slice is up the back. Let's have a taste. All right, let's try this trimmed piece first. Just look at that. Look at the bend on it. Unbelievable, juicy, tender, pulls apart with ease. I mean, you've seen the bend on that. That was just incredible. All right, now for the one we didn't trim up at all. Again, super, super tender. Keep in mind, this had the silver skin still on the top and the membrane on the bottom. This one honestly looks a little bit more juicy and it's a bit softer as well. That is really, really good as well. I can see a little bit of the silver skin here, but honestly, there's no issues biting into that. You could barely even tell it was there. That one we didn't trim honestly came out the best. They were both so unbelievably similar, but if I did have to pick one, surprisingly, I would pick the one that we didn't even trim. Now, I tried to cook them as evenly as possible, but it really might come down to if they were coming off two different cows. One might have been slightly better quality than the other, but in terms of cooking them even and trimming versus non-trimming, I'm very surprised that the non-trimmed one came out better. Not by much, but like I said, if I had to pick one, the non-trim would be my winner. And I know a lot of you are always interested in how I serve this all up. So I've got a nice white corn tortilla, a good slice of that beef rib, and then I'm quite simply just going to serve it up with some chimichurri. And that's a super tasty, quick and easy little snack. And one thing I get asked all the time is, what do you do with all your leftover barbecue? Now I'm going to show you exactly what I do. I like to vac seal it up. And by vac sealing them, it locks in all of that moisture and flavour, and it honestly reheats pretty much just as good as what they were fresh. And then I'll just freeze them. They last for up to 12 months in the freezer when they're vac sealed. And then when you want to reheat them, you just get them out, put them in a pot of simmering water, and from frozen, they usually take around 20-25 minutes to heat back through. Or sometimes I'll give leftovers to family and friends, but you can seriously incorporate these into so many other dishes like pizza toppings, pastas, tacos, pies, and much more. And that's pretty much the end of the video. So will I trim my beef ribs again? Probably not. That was very surprising, and it pretty much proves that you're wasting your time if you over trim your beef ribs. So if you've got any questions, don't hesitate to ask them in the comments below. Shout out to all my YouTube members. Thanks for all the support. I hope you enjoyed the early access to this video, all the other videos, and all the other perks you get. I'm going to go make some more beef rib and chimichurri tacos, so I'll see you all next time.